Hello again everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we have a couple of things to work through. Firstly, of course, we are taking out the PMDG 737 once again, sporting this wonderful British Midland livery, and we'll talk more about that in just a moment's time. Secondly, today we are celebrating the channel having passed the 20,000 subscriber mark. Needless to say, that's been brilliant to see. I am very grateful, and we'll be having a little bit of a prize giveaway alongside the video here as my way of saying thank you. We'll be talking more about the prize giveaway towards the end of the video. For now, let's discuss the purposes of our flight here today. For a little while now, I had been considering whether or not to create a channel livery here on Into the Blue Simulations. I decided though that instead of creating a new airline, we are in fact going to be bringing an old one back to life. Probably no surprises at this point then, that airline is of course going to be British Midland. For those unfamiliar with British Midland, the airline was a UK based carrier founded in 1964. Midland operated under various guises over the years, finishing up operations as British Midland International, or BMI, in 2012. Over the years the airline operated a whole host of different aircraft, including many British classics, and at its peak it operated some 30 aircraft, primarily from its London Heathrow and East Midlands bases. British Midland served destinations all over Europe and indeed further afield, and at one point in time held some 13% of all takeoff and landing slots out of London Heathrow. Sadly though, BMI ceased trading in October of 2012, and the last vestige of the airline, Fly BMI, was closed down just a couple of years ago in 2019. For a number of reasons, British Midland is a carrier that means quite a lot to me personally. So, as you can see, I have commissioned a beautiful BD livery for the PMDG 737, created masterfully by Mr. Mac2, so thank you very much to him, and more details about that, and indeed again our prize giveaway towards the end of the video. The plan is to make this livery and indeed many more in the coming months publicly available, so that hopefully a few of you will join me in getting Midland back in the skies once again, and BMA can become, if you like, the unofficial airline of Into the Blue Simulations. Anyway, for today's flight, I thought what better way to get the project underway than recreating the first flight that I ever had the pleasure of taking. That flight was on a British Midland 737 from London Heathrow, where we're currently on the ground, up towards Edinburgh. So we're currently on stand 249 here at London Heathrow, and we're going to be taking the jet up north. As you can see for yourselves, the weather isn't too flash, a fairly typical UK day ahead of us it looks like, and with conditions unsurprisingly much the same up in Scotland. We've got about 130 passengers on board the jet for our flight today, and we're going to be cruising our way over at flight level 360. Our alternate for the flight is Glasgow, the weather looking a little bit more reasonable there. All up, our flight plan fuel is bang on 5 tonnes. The weather should hopefully make for an interesting sector. It's going to be more or less down on the Cat 1 minima for the ILS into Edinburgh, and I'm certainly really looking forward to showcasing the livery to you a little bit more en route. As always, ladies and gents, I do hope you enjoy the video. I've certainly tried to pull out all of the stops for this one. If you do enjoy the flight, then please consider giving the video a like and subscribing to the channel if you've yet to do so. And again, please do feel free to stick around until the end of the video, where there'll be more details regarding both the livery and indeed the prize giveaway. Anyway, let's head for the cockpit of our British Midland 737, and we'll have the airline grace the skies once again. So good morning and welcome to a rather dreary day here on the ground at London Heathrow, and indeed welcome to the cockpit of our British Midland 737. We've actually carried out most of the pre-flight checks and preparation already. We'll just run briefly through that to get you up to speed on the flight. So coming to the route page, obviously departing out of London Heathrow up towards Edinburgh, we're going to be Midland 476 off runway 27 right. We've been cleared for the Umlaut 1 Foxtrot departure. That obviously takes us out towards waypoint Umlaut. We're then going to be tracking the Tango 418 airway out towards waypoint Welwyn, then the Tango 420 out towards Trent. After that will be the Upper November 57 towards Pole Hill, and then finally the Upper November 601 towards waypoint Inpip. On Inpip we're expecting the Inpip 1 Echo arrival, inbound towards waypoint Tartan, and then radar vectors for the ILS 24 Edinburgh. Briefly departure in just a moment's time. Obviously we're using wet V speeds for the takeoff today off runway 27 right. It's going to be a flaps 5 takeoff, and the V speeds we've got V1 120, VR 128 and V2 133. So as I say, we'll brief the departure. It's the Umlaut 1 Foxtrot departure off runway 27 right, plate 10-3 November. It's a conventional SID, initially based off the London VOR, which we've got tuned up there on both nav1 and nav2. After 3 miles off the London DME, we're going to be turning right, inbound towards the Burnham NDB, and again we've got that tuned up on the ADF. After Burnham, tracking out to the north towards waypoint Umlaut, climbing up to an altitude of 6,000 feet, which we've got set on the MCP. In terms of the terrain, nothing significant there really. We've got the MSF 2,200 feet outbound from London. Weather-wise, obviously pretty miserable day here, but the worst of the weather has now cleared through. In fact, it looks to have stopped raining for the moment. So if we do need to return to London, we should be good for the Cat 1 ILS back onto either 27 right or 27 left. Not much wind around, temperature outside 15 degrees, so no considerations there in terms of crosswind limitations or any icing conditions. In terms of the taxi, we're going to be pushing back onto taxiway Lima initially. We'll take Lima out onto Bravo and then expecting Alpha 4 for an intersection departure off runway 27 right. As I say, we are pretty much ready for the push here. We'll just run through our push and start flows. So electrical, APU is currently on the bus. And looking good there on the load. Passenger signs are on. Hydraulics, we'll get the electric hydraulic pumps on. Doors and windows, doors are closed. And the windows are closed and locked. Beacon can go on. Transponder is set to TARA. And for the air conditioning, the packs can go off in preparation for the start. Isolation valve is in the auto position. APU bleed is on. So running through the before start checks, fuel pumps are all on. We've got the centre tank pumps off, no fuel there in the centre tank. Fuel quantity, we've got 4.9 tonnes of fuel on board versus 5 tonnes that we wanted for the flight plan. We just burned down a little bit of fuel there on the APU burn. Passenger signs are on. Windows are closed and locked. MCP, we've got V2 133 heading 268 and altitude of 6,000 feet. Takeoff speeds, we've got V1 120, VR 128 and V2 133. CDU pre-flight has been completed. Rudder and aileron trim are checked 0. Taxi and takeoff briefing is complete. Flight deck door is closed and the anti-collision light is on. So let's see before start checklist complete. We'll just have the tug move into position.
AZ6441 London, good afternoon, route direct to Saitek.
And a little bit ahead of sequence here, but we'll take the park brake off in preparation for the push. Just waiting till we've commenced the push and then we'll start the number 2 engine.
Heading final 350, jet set 304 China.
Currently on stand 249, as I say, we're going to be pushing back onto Lima, which is just behind the aircraft. Just behind the wingtip there. We'll stop the tug ourselves, obviously manually, once we're in position. So as usual, we'll just keep a good eye on the push, as well as the engine start here as we commence the pushback. Nice short taxi for us, you can see 27 right there, just off on the 1 o'clock position. So we'll only be taxiing for a minute or so. And we have commenced the push. Ignition's on the right. Number 2 start switch can go to ground.
London, afternoon, jet set 304 Charlie, climb flight 310, radar heading is 180 degrees.
We do have N2 rotation. Not quite sure why the EGT is so high there. We've been on the ground for quite some time here as we set the aircraft up, and I haven't flown the 737 since I reviewed the aircraft. A little bit strange on that one. Just wait until we see 25% there on the N2, which we now have. So start lever can go to idle.
Jet set 304 Charlie, London, good afternoon. Continue on that heading, climb flight level 350.
There's our Ryzen fuel flow. And Ryzen EGT, so we do have a good light off. And again, just keeping a good eye on the push here as we come back onto Lima. There's M1 rotation.
Monarch 5901, contact London 127.87. Bye-bye. 27.87, Monarch 591, goodbye.
N2 coming up nicely, we should see start to cut out fairly shortly. There's 56%, you can hear the starter cut out. And the start valve open, caution there is extinguished. We'll just push back a little bit further here. And just waiting on the number 2 there to stabilise. Which it now has.
London, good day, Station 6239, presenting to Warthog.
So it looks good in terms of position. We'll stop the tug. Park brake can go on. And the tug is now just clearing, so we'll start the number 1.
Captain and the crew are here for your safety. It is important that you pay attention and follow instructions carefully. First, check your seatbelt is securely fastened. Insert the metal tag into the buckle and tighten by pulling on the loose end. To unfasten, simply lift up the metal flap on the buckle and pull apart. You'll find the seatbelt sign in the panel above your head. When it's on, you must fasten your seatbelt. We'll provide extension seatbelts for infants. We suggest you keep your seatbelt fastened and visible during our flight, even when the sign is off.
Okay, so we have two good starts running through our after start flows. Electrical, just check our generator output, so Gen 1 looks good. Same there on Gen 2, so the generators can come onto the bus. Pitot heat is on, air conditioning and pressurization, packs can go to auto, engine bleeds can go on, APU bleed can come off, and pressurization is set to auto. Engine start switches can go to continuous, APU can now come off. Engine start levers are set to idle, and for the flaps, again it's going to be a flaps 5 takeoff. So we'll set flaps 5. Just waiting for the flaps to run out and then we'll carry out the before taxi checks.
Skyshare 26239 London, good afternoon. Route direct Sandy, Compton and then Dublin.
Roger, direct Sandy, Compton and Dublin, Skyshare 62.
So we have flaps 5 indicated with a green light. The before taxi checks, generators are on, probe heats are on, anti-ice not required, isolation valve is set to auto, engine start switches are set to continuous, recall has been checked, auto brake is set to RTO, engine start levers are idle, flight controls, just coming onto the systems page, we have full up, full down and neutral, full left, full right and neutral, and on the rudder full left, full right and neutral. We'll get rid of the lower DU for now. We do have our taxi clearance, and again the weather's picked up a little bit here, quite a bit of precipitation, so what it's worth we'll get the wipers on, not that they do an awful lot in the aircraft. We are clear for the taxi, so taxi light can go on, as can the runway turn-off lights. All clear on the left, and same on the right. Park brake can come off. And just nudging up on the throttles here to get the aircraft on the move. And we can get our inaugural British Midland service here on the channel underway.
Midland 8865 London, good afternoon. Climb flight level 330.
As I mentioned during the briefing, I'm going to join right here onto Lima, so straight ahead now onto Lima. We'll taxi across Bravo onto Alpha, so second right will be onto Alpha. And then we'll take the Alpha 4 intersection off 27 right. All clear on the right. And all clear on the left. We'll just wait until we've got ourselves onto Alpha. And then we'll run through our before takeoff flows.
Cargo 410, route direct to Dover.
Direct Dover now for Polar 410.
Looking at the windsock there, we do have pretty good headwind down runway 27. So it's joining right onto Alpha, and Alpha 4 is the next intersection on our left. We'll just hold momentarily at Alpha 4 just to complete the rest of our takeoff preparations, carry out the takeoff brief.
Jetset 304 Charlie, turn left heading 170 degrees, and B flight level 350, level at beam sit at please.
So left onto Alpha 4.
Left heading 170 degrees, and we will be level 350 by sit at Jetset 304 Charlie. Thank you.
And onto the brakes. Park brake can go on. For the before takeoff flows, engine start switches, again we've set those to continuous. Flight controls have been checked. Transponder is set to TARA. V speeds, again we've got V1 120, VR 128, V2 133. V2 set on the MCP, heading and altitude look good. Flaps 5 selected, indicated, and with the green light. Exterior lights, we'll get the landing lights on. Strobe lights can go on as well. Auto throttle, we can arm. Weather radar, unfortunately inoperative in the aircraft. Obviously it would be quite a useful thing to have today. Anyway, that's us done in terms of our before takeoff prep. So running through the before takeoff checks, nice and easy there, just flaps. Again, flaps 5 indicated with the green light. And stab trim, showing 5.6 units, which is what we've got on the CDU. So we are clear for the takeoff. Can't see much there down final, but the park brake can come off. Rain's easing up a little bit now, but it looks like we're probably going to be passing through a pretty heavy shower there on the departure. We'll take the wipers to high.
Shamrock 346, contact Brest, channel 132.830, fly.
Yes, 132.830, Shamrock 346, bye-bye.
And again, having to come up fairly high on the thrust setting there just to get the aircraft moving. Get ourselves into position here on runway 27. And we'll just hold the aircraft on the runway as we let the engine stabilise. Again, a little bit of a headwind for the departure. So just getting ourselves taxied onto the centreline. So takeoff brief, it's runway heading initially up to 3 miles, then a right turn. It's track inbound towards the Burnham and DB and climb up to an altitude of 6,000 feet. Come up to 40% in 1, let the engine stabilise. And everything looking good, so take off. We have N1 toga there on the FMA. Briefly had a master caution there, but that's cleared. Thrust is set. That's checked. We have throttle hold. And back on the yoke.
Positive rate of climb.
Yeah, it's positive rate, we'll get the gear up. And just pitching for the flight directors, trimming the aircraft accordingly. Coming up through 400 feet, so we'll take LNAV. And up through 1,000, we'll take VNAV and Command A. So with Command, LNAV, VNAV speed. Just come up through 1,500 feet, which is our acceleration altitude. Engine's rolling back there. We've got the gear up now, so we'll take the wipers off. And the aircraft's just starting to pitch down there, accelerating. Maintaining the config for the time being. Gear lever can go back to the off position. And continuing to track straight ahead off the London DME there, showing 2 miles at the moment. 3 miles will start the turn. Come up through 3,000 feet, just commencing the turn now. And speed is checked, we'll go flaps 1.
London, good afternoon, Swiss 354, flight level 340.
Twist 354, London, roger.
And we can go flap 0.
Twist 354, report your position.
Just clearing the worst of the weather momentarily, but it looks like we're going to be heading back into another fairly angry looking bank of cloud there. So accelerating now up to 250 knots. And climbing up to an altitude of 6,000 feet. The after takeoff flows, engine bleeds are on, packs are set to auto, engine start switches. We'll just leave those on a little bit longer here, we're going to be passing through a bit more weather. Flaps, flaps indicating up and lights out, landing gear is up and off, auto brake is off, and transition altitude 6,000 feet, so leaving the altimeters for the time being. We'll assume air traffic's given us further climb up to flight level 110. And obviously we do have a constraint on the departure, so we're going to level change, keeping the speed back at 250 knots. So we have N1 MCP speed and 1,000 feet. Out of the worst of the weather now, so the engine start switches can go back to the off position. And up through 6,000. Altimeters can go standard. And we have standard set and cross-checked. Running through the after takeoff checks, the engine bleeds are on, packs are in auto, landing gear is up and off, flaps are up, no lights. That's the after takeoff checks complete.
2354, you've come to the wrong frequency, contact London 128.42, bye-bye.
12842, bye.
Now that we've got the gear up, we can take the runway turn-off lights off, same for the taxi lights, just leaving the landing lights on until we're through 10,000 feet. And we'll leave the cabin crew sat down a little bit longer here, looks like we've got a little bit more weather to negotiate, although it doesn't look to be as significant up through the second layer of cloud here. 9,000 feet, and again we'll assume we've been given further climb. So there's 150 on the PFD, and there's 10,000, so landing lights can go off. And in terms of our climb speed, targeting 285 knots, so we'll set that manually for now, as we've still got the restriction. So leaving the aircraft in level change. There's 285 selected. Just come out on the range here on the nav display. Just coming up on waypoint Umlaut, after that tracking out towards Woburn.
AB 88, correction, Midland 8865, route direct to Warthog.
Direct Warthog, Midland 8865.
And +7 on the outside air temperature. We are going to be coming up through that cloud layer, so we'll take the engine anti-ice on in anticipation of that. And we'll assume now today's our lucky day, so air traffic's cleared us all up to cruise altitude, which is flight level 360.
Good day, London United 915, flight level 280 for flight level 300.
United 915, London, roger.
Now we have 360 in the window, 360 on the PFD. Just waiting to come through Umlaut, then we should be able to go back into VNAV. We'll have cleared our constraints. Showing Woburn as the active now. And we have VNAV speed. Sure enough, maintaining 285 as per the box. Just coming into the second cloud layer. It does look like there's still a few little build-ups there, so again we'll just leave the cabin crew set down a little bit longer. Be really handy to have the weather radar, but of course not currently functional in the aircraft. And fair enough on that one to PMDG. Obviously the weather functionality in the sim is not particularly brilliant anyway. Just coming up through flight level 150. Top climb you can see already, showing about 60 miles to run there currently. And showing 0543. So about another 10 minutes till top of climb. Top descent 57. It's about 14 minutes in the cruise. Obviously a fairly quick cruise sector here over towards Edinburgh. But for me those are the sorts of flights I really enjoy doing in the sim. Nice quick sectors to keep you occupied, keep things busy. Just come up through flight level 170. Back into the cloud layer here, and again we do have the engine anti-ice should be on. Sure enough, it is.
London Control, very good afternoon to you. Channel 231, we're maintaining flight level 350 towards Italy.
So we'll just wait until we've cleared these cloud tops. Just clear them a little bit quicker here, we might actually come back into level change. We'll roll off some of the speed. just to get us above the cloud a little bit more quickly, and therefore we can let the cabin crew start working a little bit more quickly. It's obviously going to be a pretty busy sector for them. So just trading some speed for some climb performance.
Channel 231 London, good afternoon, redirect to Saitek.
Saitek, Channel 231.
Through flight level 200. Back in the thick of it here at the moment, but we should see things clearing up very shortly. And you can see blue skies above, and not long now till we're going to be out of that cloud layer.
Ryanair 5706, contact Maastricht, channel 132.205, bye-bye.
132.205, Ryanair 5706, bye.
So much nicer, clear blue skies ahead. We'll come back into VNAV once again. Managed speed looks good, there's VNAV speed. Should be clear of any icing now, so the engine anti-ice can come off. Now we'll just cycle those signs. Let the cabin crew start working. Just leave the passengers sat down a little bit longer here, just so that the cabin crew have a chance to get up and about. Once again though, I think this flight really just demonstrating what an awesome sim Microsoft Flight Simulator can be at times. Stunning weather visuals. It's really by far and away the best sim, obviously, when it comes to any weather depiction.
AB 88, correction, Midland 8865, redirect to Warthog.
Direct Warthog, Midland 8865.
Good day, London United 915, flight level 280 for flight level 300.
United 915, London, roger.
London Control, very good afternoon to you. Channel 231, we're maintaining flight level 350 towards Kidley.
Channel 231, London, good afternoon, redirect to Saitek.
Anyway, pretty hectic sector for us. We've got about another 10 minutes here in the climb, so we'll start briefing, getting set up for the arrival ahead of time. That way we've got a little bit of time to enjoy the cruise, and then obviously we can sort ourselves out in the descent. So as I said, expecting the INPIP 1 Echo arrival in towards Edinburgh. That's plate 10-2. It's an RNAV SID. For the arrival itself, we want flight level 260 at waypoint INPIP, 200 at waypoint INREV. Got a speed restriction of 250 knots at Eskdo. We'll check that later on. And then we need to be flight level 70, 230 knots at waypoint Tartan. Vectoring ourselves in for the ILS onto runway 24. In terms of the ILS, that's going to be plate 11-3. ILS DME 24 into Edinburgh. We'll brief it first, then we'll get everything set up. So the frequency 108.9, final approach course 241. Aerodrome elevation is 136 feet, we've already got that set on the pressurization panel. Down to a Cat 1 MDA of 300 feet. And for the missed approach, it's going to be climb straight ahead to 3,000 feet, then as directed by air traffic. Transition level by ATC, we'll call that probably 10,000 in the descent. In terms of the terrain, we do have high terrain around Edinburgh. We're looking at an MSA on the arrival of 3,900 feet. High terrain out to the south of the field up to around 2,000 feet. Weather-wise, much the same. We're expecting the same conditions really as we saw out of Heathrow, so basically pretty miserable weather, wet conditions, low visibility potentially. Still fairly moderate winds. The wind should be out from the west, obviously, hence runway 24. And QNX should be 1013. Landing on runway 24, we're expecting to vacate off to the left, probably off via Bravo. For that we'll take auto brake 2. In terms of our fuel, we've got Glasgow as the alternate for the flight. We need 1.7 tonnes for Glasgow. Arriving with 2.6, so we've got about 0.9 extra. That's going to be roughly an extra 30 minutes on top of what we need should we wish to divert. So in terms of the setup, we said the frequency for the ILS is 108.9. We'll tune that up on nav1 and nav2.
United 915, climb flight level 360.
Climb 360, United 915, requesting flight level 340.
So we've got 108.9 on nav1.
Roger, stop your climb flight level 340 for the cruise.
Climb flight level 340, United 915.
And same there on nav2. Final approach course 241. So we'll set that first on my side.
Good day, Justice
743, flight level 360.
So 241 on the left, just coming up through flight level 315, so another 4,000 feet roughly for the climb.
Sorry, station calling, say again.
Jetset 743, flight level 360, approaching Avant.
Jetset 743, London.
And there's 241 on the right. MDA we said was 300 feet, so we'll set that. We want Barrow minima.
Jetset 304 Charlie, resume our navigation direct to Deauville. Contact Brest, channel 133.635. Bye-bye.
And we've got 300 feet on the left, same on the right. Water break 2, as we said.
133.635, thanks. Jetset 304 Charlie.
So that pretty much carries out most of the preliminary setup there. And just running through the rest of our flows, we can come down to the CDU. Init ref. Again, looking at runway 24 right, frequency 108.9, 241. Looking to land at 56.8, so well below max landing weight. It's going to be a flaps 30 landing. That's giving us a VREF 132. We've got a correction there of plus 5 knots. In terms of the legs, we'll just work our way quickly through the legs page as well. As we can see, the flight plan takes out towards Tartan as per the arrival. And as I say, we'll be vectoring ourselves for the ILS onto runway 24. So that ref's good, route we've checked. Come back onto the climb page for now. Just coming up through flight level 345, so another 1,500 feet here in the climb. Nicely clear of the weather here now, really beautiful scenery up above. All of the typical British muck below us. As usual, we're just going to wait until we get here into the top of climb and then we'll head outside. Definitely looking forward to showing off the British Midland livery a little bit more as we make our short section in the cruise here up towards Edinburgh. It's flight level 350, so 1 to go. We shouldn't have too much to do in the descent given that we've already got the aircraft set up. We've already briefed.
Polar Cargo 410, descend now, flight level 310, route direct to Babic.
Nonetheless, it should make for a pretty interesting approach with those weather conditions. Potentially going to be right down on the Cat 1 minima that we're using for the ILS. And just coming up on top of climb, so we have FM speed, VNAV path, Mach 0.76, just gone onto the cruise page there on the CDU. And that's us. So as I say, pretty nice conditions here up on top. We've got about 85 miles to run till top of descent, so about 10 minutes before we get the aircraft coming down again. As I just mentioned, we're going to head outside. We're going to enjoy that wonderful British Midland livery. And I'll come back to you again once we are ready to commence our descent.
London, Easy 6591 with your radar heading 135, climbing 310.
Easy 6591 London, roger. Easy 65901, climb flight level 330.
Good afternoon, this is the Commodore 205, on our way to heading off 160, climbing flight level 310.
Tulsa 205 London, roger, continue on the heading.
Stay in heading and requesting 37025.
Jetset 743, descend now, flight level 350.
Good afternoon, flight level 350, just 743.
London Control, good afternoon, Cyprus 506, heading 290 degrees.
Ryanair 2836, make your man number decimal 80, all left.
All left, Ryanair 2836. Bucket Ryanair 2347, level 300.
Air Malta 139, contact Brest, channel 118.885, bye-bye.
118.885 for Malta 139, good day.
Jetset 743, turn right 15 degrees, report the new heading. Polar 410, report your speed to London, 134.9, bye-bye.
134.9, report 40, good day.
Ryanair 2836, report your speed to London, 134.9, bye-bye. Channel 231, continue present heading.
Heading, 175, can I please
Thank you. Midland 8865, contact London 129.42, bye-bye.
942, Midland 8865, bye-bye.
So welcome back to the cockpit. Already approaching our top of descent here. You can see we have that just coming up on the nav display. We set flight level 260 for our first restriction at waypoint INPIP. And the aircraft should commence its descent shortly. Indeed, there we go. So we've got retards and 260 there on the PFD. So the thrust just starting to roll off and the aircraft putting itself into a descent. As we discussed, first restriction is flight level 260 INPIP. We've got flight level 200 thereafter, and then the speed restriction later on. As much as possible, we're going to try and let the aircraft just fly everything in managed, or the Boeing equivalent. We'll leave the aircraft in VNAV for the time being. Running through our descent flows then, the recall has been checked, air conditioning and pressurisation is set. We've got landing altitude of 150 feet set there on the pressurisation panel. Briefing we've obviously already completed. Speeds we've already put in the MCDU just to run over those once again. So it's a flaps 30 landing with a VREF of now 131 knots, so we'll update that. And we'll keep the wind correction there of 5 knots. Minima, we have the MDO of 300 set on both sides. And the auto brake, again we opted for auto brake 2, probably going to be a wet runway. And aiming to come off Bravo, so that should give us plenty of distance to get the aircraft slowed down. For the descent checklist, pressurisation, landing altitude is set, recall has been checked, auto brake is set, landing data we have VREF 131 and Barrow 300 set, and the approach briefing is complete, so that's the descent checklist complete. Just coming down through flight level 330. So for the time being, again we'll just let the aircraft descend in VNAV. And looking at the green arc there, it's going to have us levelling off correctly at flight level 260 at waypoint INPIP. We'll leave the seatbelt signs off just a tiny bit longer, but we'll get them on a little bit earlier here just before we come back into the cloud. And minus 24 degrees outside, so again we're going to need that engine anti-ice on here as we descend.
Olympic 423, are you on a heading?
Negative, direct Lambun.
Roger.
Again though, a good little run so far, good fun. And really enjoying the livery. I'm really pleased actually with how it came out. And as I said, hoping to have a few more liveries for various other aircraft uploaded in due course. So again, if you do want to join me in a little bit of a British Midland revival, I think that'd be great. And obviously I hope to see more of you flying the virtual skies in a Midland livery pretty soon.
United 915, continue present heading.
Present heading, United 915.
Says 310. We'll get the passengers sat down now, we don't want to be bumping them around in the clouds. Give them a little bit of time there to get back to their seats. Five miles to run to waypoint Abevi. After that will be waypoint INPIP, which again is the first restriction for us here on the descent. And there's flight level 300. Looking forward to the arrival into Edinburgh. I actually picked up some payware scenery for Edinburgh, so it should look pretty good, although unfortunately I'm not sure the weather conditions are going to allow us to see much of the scenery that I paid good money for, but we'll definitely be seeing it again at a later date. As I say, planning on flying quite a few British Midland routes and various real-world operations, or ex-real-world operations, over the coming months. Not to say that we'll be solely flying British Midland, of course if there are other routes I fancy we'll pick the appropriate airline for that, but I'm a big UK flyer obviously anyway, and I do enjoy the routes, they're all nice short sectors. So 290, 3,000 feet to go, again looking good in terms of our descent towards INPIP. We'll assume now we've been cleared down to 7,000, but as per the star, so we do have the restriction 7,000 there at Tartan. We'll set 7,000 on the MCP. Again, the aircraft should manage that for us quite nicely, but we'll keep a good eye on things. So we have 7,000.
Sorry, station calling, say again.
Hopefully the aircraft's going to level us off at flight level 260 initially for the INPIP restriction.
Thompson 205, recommending 330.
Thompson 205, roger, climb flight level 370.
Going through flight level 270. That means we need about 108 miles to run. And currently showing 85, but of course we do have a little bit of vectoring there, whereas the flight plan presumably has us calculated directly from Tartan to the fix for the RLS. Too steep of a descent after INPIP. We'll clear that for now, we'll keep an eye on things. No speed restriction at INREV, so we'll probably just intervene there on the speed to get us down to flight level 200. In terms of distance, showing about 18 miles between the two waypoints. We're going to have about 6,000 feet to lose, so that's pretty doable. Again, if we speed up, we should be able to make that quite easily. Just coming up on 260, and showing waypoint in rev now, flight level 200. Looks like the aircraft's still good on the VNAV path for now, so we won't intervene just yet, showing FMC speed. And less than 80 miles direct to Edinburgh now, you can see coming up about the 60-mile range. 25,000 feet, so about 100 miles that we need to run. But again, slightly shy on that with the direct to from waypoint Tartan. Drag required. Again, we'll clear that for now. It doesn't look like the aircraft needs any drag at the moment, although the speed is just creeping up there. But again, we don't have a speed restriction just yet, so we can take the extra airspeed for the time being. So in rev, flight level 200, a little bit tricky to make out there on the nav display, but just checking the chart again for the various restrictions on the way down. In rev 200, it's waypoint Escado that we've got the 250 knots speed restriction, so we do need to be back at 250 knots. We can start slowing up once we come through in rev. And then we've got 230 knots and 7,000 feet, or flight level 70 at Tartan.
Ryanair 5706, contact Maastricht, channel 132.205. Bye-bye.
Good afternoon, Olympic 423, level 360.
Olympic 423, London, good afternoon. Polar 410, report your speed to London, 134.9. Bye-bye.
134.9, 410, good day.
Ryanair 2836, report your speed to London, 134.9. Bye-bye.
So just coming up from 5,000 feet, we've got one to go. And actually now in terms of our sector MSA, 270 out from Edinburgh, we're good there, so we can descend now down to 3,000 feet.
Ryanair 234 Zulu, climb flight level 370, route direct to Barmaid.
Ryanair 234 Zulu.
Ryanair 234 Zulu, route direct to Barmaid.
Ryanair 234 Zulu.
And what we can do here, we'll go direct to the centre fix, so we'll go to legs, we'll select up the centre fix, put that on the top line. That's now the active, so we'll execute that. That's giving us 18 miles now to run towards Edinburgh. Come back into LNAV. Now we'll just increase our vertical speed once again. We can start reducing our speed now as we turn inbound. So we'll come back to 200 knots initially. Go to init ref on my side again, 131 plus 5, so 136 for the approach speed. Speed not coming back particularly quickly there, so we'll start taking some flap just to encourage the speed reduction. So we'll go flaps 1. Showing the glide slope there as well now. So the approach is identified, correct sensing, we can arm that up. And we'll go flaps 5.
Easy 65901, climb flight level 350.
Climb level 350, easy 6591.
So one to go. And showing we're going to be 3,000 just before the centre fix, so that's looking good. Back into the rain again. Outside air temperature is still good. We won't take the wipers just yet, but we will just reduce our vertical speed once again.
Britannia 713 Bravo, contact London 127.87. Bye-bye.
London 127.87, Britannia 713 Bravo.
And coming up on about 5 miles now till we make the turn, so we'll bring the speed back to 180 knots. So we've got VOR Loke and glide slope armed on the FMA.
Good afternoon, it's Olympic 411 and 360.
Olympic 411 London, good afternoon.
Maintain flaps 5 for the time being.
Ryanair 234 Zulu, contact Brest, channel 132.830, bye.
32830, runner 234 Zulu.
And speed very slowly rolling back here towards 180. Definitely passing into some pretty rough weather here now. We'll take the igniters on a little bit early. So both engines start switches to continuous.
Thompson 205, resume our navigation direct to Barmes.
Transducer direct Barmes 205, thank you.
And missed approach altitude we said was 3,000 feet, so we'll set that once we see glide slope capture. Bang on the glide slope, that's fine, we want to be levelled off 3,000. There's VOR Loc and out acquire glide slope as well. We can arm up Command B. And we've got 3,000 foot set for the missed approach altitude. 10 miles to run, we'll maintain 180 knots and flaps 5 for now. We'll get the gear down at 8 miles. Just turning bound towards the runway. Not quite sure why we're still showing single channel there. I have had that issue before. I've got the course and the ILS tuned up on both sides. I believe there is also a height requirement to get the double channel in, but I thought we'd met that.
2500.
It's 2500. Again, just wait until 8 DME and then we'll take the gear.
London Control Airport 068, good afternoon, 290 climbing to 31.
Airport 068, London, Roger.
Says 8 miles, we'll take the gear down. You can arm up the speed brake. And we'll get the runway turn off lights, the taxi light on. Speed can come back to 160 knots. And we'll go flaps 15. 3 greens there on the gear. So engine start switches are set to continuous, altimeters are set. Speed brake is armed, green light, gear down 3 greens. So just waiting on the flaps now.
Airport 068, climb flight level 320.
Climb 320, Airport 068.
We'll just maintain 160 till around 5 DME.
Good afternoon, just an 860 down to flight level 360 to Ammo.
Looks like there's a little bit of weather between us and the field. We'll take the wipers on now.
Jet 860 Delta, was that you?
What is?
Thank you, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so there was an altitude restriction there, 1500 feet. Now we have, looks like both Command A and Command B. So VREF 136.
Easy 6591, resume my navigation direct to Coxie.
Direct Coxie, easy 6591.
And we'll take flaps 30.
Baby 20, Echo route direct Southampton. Direct Southampton, baby 20.
1000.
Says flaps 30, green light. Landing checklist, engine start switches are continuous, speed brake is armed, landing gear is down 3 greens, flaps 30 indicated, green light. Speed just coming back towards VREF. Showing traffic there, that's interesting. I don't have any currently enabled in the sim. Pretty mucky weather here, so we're just going to leave the autopilot in a little bit longer. Looks like we are already visual. Good on the profile. Just getting a little bit bashed around here in the wind. And it looks like the aircraft has us trending slightly though there, so we'll take the autopilot out. Just getting ourselves back onto the PAPI and indeed the glide slope. Yeah, so the aircraft just losing the glide there a little bit towards the end of the approach. Get rid of the auto throttle.
200. Minimums.
We'll continue.
100. 50. 40.
Coming back off the throttles.
20. 10.
Let's touch down. Go full reverse with the wet runway. And coming through 70, we'll cancel the reversers. Onto the brakes. So vacating off at Bravo 1, we'll just join onto the main taxiway. All clear on the right. We'll just wait until we're clear of the runway here before we carry out the after landing checks.
Lufthansa 1 Kilo report speed to London 130.92, goodbye.
130.92, confirm.
Okay, firm, speed to London 130.92.
3092 with the speed, goodbye, 1 Kilo.
Okay, so flaps can come up. Get rid of the speed brakes, which again is going to take us a little bit of time here. Just come up again on the throttles, keeping the taxi speed up.
London for the British 940, do you still require the restriction of 290 by Peacock?
And unfortunately we're just going to have to hold the rest of the after landings here until we've actually got those speed brakes retracted.
British 940 negative.
Looks like we're almost there.
Easy 6147, climb flight level 300.
Okay, so we're good on the speed brakes, landing lights can come off.
Climb flight level 300, easy 6147.
Get the strobes off as well. Start switches can go off.
Kestrel 7084, turn left heading 010 degrees. Descend now flight level 220.
And fairly short taxi here into the apron, so we'll fire up the APU. Still fairly heavy rain, so we'll leave the wipers as is for now.
Heading 010, descend flight level 220, Kestrel 7084.
Get the pitot heats off as well.
Lufthansa 2 Mike Whiskey, climb flight level 310, turn left heading 110 degrees.
So the after landing checks, pitot heats are off, anti-ice can leave off. Pressurization switch is set to auto, engine start switches are off. Take the next right here in towards the apron. Exterior lights are set, flight directors are off. Looks like there's a free gate just off the nose, we'll take that. Auto brake is off, speed brake is down, flaps are up. Weather radar is off, transponder will leave as is, APU is available. That's the after landing check is complete.
Lufthansa 2 Mike Whiskey, climb flight level 310.
Climb flight level 310, Lufthansa 2 Mike Whiskey.
So coming in here onto what looks to be gate 3. Turn off lights and taxi lights are off. Doesn't look as though the docking guidance is working there, so we'll just have to position ourselves. Looks to be about correct. Part brake can go on. We'll get the APU on the bus. APU bleed can go on. Transponder can go back to standby. I'll just check the APU gen there. Everything looking good, so we can shut down the engines. Get rid of the wipers as well. So good shutdown there on the left, we'll do the same on the right. And a good shutdown there on the right. Anti-collision light can go off, as can the seatbelt signs. Running through the shutdown checks, the park brake is set, start levers are in the cut-off position, beacon is off, seatbelt signs are off, IRS mode selectors are off, fuel. So we'll get the aft left, the forward and the aft right off, we'll leave the forward left on for the APU. So fuel pumps are set, galley power is on, electrical we'll leave on the APU, window heat is off, pitot heat is off, edge anti-ice is off, electric hydraulic pumps are off, air conditioning and pressurization is set, exterior lights are set, flaps are up, transponder is off, And that's the shutdown checklist complete. So there you go, ladies and gents. I do hope you enjoyed our inaugural British Midland service here on the channel. For those of you who did and want to get involved, you can find this livery available over on Flightsim.to. I'll leave a link down in the video description below. I certainly plan as well to have more liveries available within the coming months, covering a range of different aircraft available in the sim, so do keep a good lookout for those. As far as the prize giveaway goes, the competition is fairly straightforward and as follows. I want to encourage as many of you as possible to try flying a British Midland livery as well, and for you to then send me your screenshots. The screenshot can be in any sim and indeed using any aircraft. All you need to do is make sure you are sporting a British Midland livery, and that can be anything from the old retro blue and white scheme right through to the beautiful BMI livery that the airline flew until its final days. There are a whole host of liveries available online for both freeware and payware products, so don't feel you have to use the PMDG 737. You can email me with your screenshots. Again, I'll leave a link for that down in the video description below. And the screenshot that I like the most will win the Flight Simulator aircraft add-on of their choice. So I'm hoping to see some beautiful and creative efforts, and at some point we'll probably have a video featuring all of your submissions. I may well also pick a few other screenshots as personal favourites, and we'll perhaps try and organise some runners-up prizes for those submissions. So get those virtual aeroplanes painted up, get that Midland call sign back on the airwaves, and I look forward to seeing everyone's efforts. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I do hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for coming along for the ride. If you did, please consider giving it a like. If you want to see more content from the channel, then please consider subscribing as well. As always, a huge thank you to my channel members and patrons for all of your support. It is very much appreciated. And a very special thank you once again to Mr. Mac 2 for the livery. And of course, thank you to all of you once again for getting the channel through to 20k. I do hope that all of you are having a great day wherever you are. Take really good care, and I will see you all again soon.